Morning, everybody. Coach Jason here. Hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to talk about are you doing everything you need to do, or the right things, I should say, to get you ready for fall, particularly cross country if you're a high school, college coach. Um, and what are the things that you're doing? So there's a lot of folks, and I've talked to a lot of folks about this, and padding the miles. I get it, and again, putting adding mileage to summer base trading. Obviously, it's a necessary thing in some cases, but there's so many but other things that could help you get ready, be speed development or hill training or modified fartleks, all different types of stuff, even which I've talked about recently, even if you're middle distance runner, coaching middle distance runners who might run cross country but want to test themselves at some of the middle distance type of stuff, VO2 max training and then more race specific stuff. Are you doing that? Because that will also help athletes transition into or give them a little bit of taste of their own track stuff so that they can stay engaged in the training. Because a lot of folks who run across country, obviously be running racing cross country, but even if folks that are not, will want to touch base with some of the stuff that they like to run during the track season. So, are you doing these things? So that's the question I had today. And if anybody has any questions, we'll dissect the training a little bit if you want. We can go over these types of things. And we're in July now, and I'm almost at the end of July, so we're almost two-thirds of the way through summer training. And at this point, we should be have hit goal volume and be there for several weeks. And even this now, and even to this point, this month, you're going to be incorporating hill training and some other stuff and some tempos and whatnot and speed development. But how much is the question? How often to be doing this is a question. Because I also come across folks that will do a lot of hard workouts in the summertime, too many at some point, and it has, but what it does, it has them a little bit more ready for trial or cross country season a little bit early. And the last thing we want to do is fatigue athletes during summer base training. So that's why I'm asking the question. So if anybody's in here, and I'll hang out. It's a little early Sunday morning, so we'll see if anybody has any questions about this. Leave your leave your questions in the comments because I want to know at what point are you in the summer in your summer off season or your base training right now for cross country. Where are you? Where are your athletes? Do you keep in touch with your athletes if you're coaching? That's obviously another question. Um, this is where checking in and because and it's a tough thing too because a lot of times as coaches we hope our athletes come back in shape. That's a tough thing too. That's a tough thing to worry about because you don't really know sometimes whether what type of position, what type of shape your team is going to come back into. So especially the team that's run well during track and cross country, we want to make sure that we're taking the next steps forward. If you have the same or similar personnel, to see, okay, are they going to be ready? Are they going to be fit? Are they going to be healthy and shape? Right. So this is why I have this live stream going. I want anybody who has questions and wants me to answer them to put it out in the comments. Okay. At this point, you know, generally, rule of thumb is you take a little bit of time off after the spring season, the outdoor season, and then you take the next after a couple of weeks off, and then you take the next 3 or 4 weeks to build up. Usually 4 weeks to build up to your goal volume, running volume in the first batch, so the month of June essentially, and get up to your goal volume. And now you can increase once you're there. You can add a little bit of intensity, like hill training, strides, whatever strides slash speed development. Okay, and if you get to the point where you've done that now, you've got a little bit of speed development, fast running into the legs, and you can transition into the last month of summer training, which is August. You can incorporate a little bit of threshold, a little bit of tempo, a little bit of VO2 max, or whatever you want to call it. And that also gets your athletes ready and gets a little bit of quick running under the legs so that if you want to test them at a mile or 3 or 2 mile towards the end of the summer, right before the beginning of cross country, you can do that. It'll give you a good idea of where their fitness is. Okay. And that way you can set training paces accordingly. Set your training groups accordingly. Are your training groups going to be the same as they were last year? How much further along have the people in the back of the group progressed? And this is where you have an opportunity to really, really get the folks, the guys and the gals, that might be, the back of the pack, runners 7 through 10 or whatever, could put in a decent amount of base training in the summertime and You never know who could step up. So by doing these things, being smart about doing these things, you have folks that could step up. You have folks that could push the people in front of them, and it makes for a much more effective cross country season, much more competitive cross country season, especially when you have more folks in shape. So, and not everybody has the luxury of having a lot of people on the team, and but when you do, it's important. It's very beneficial. Take advantage of it. If you have folks that are just being consistent in the summertime, it's key. But it's not always just I just got to put in the miles, got to put in a lot of miles, got to put in a lot of miles. It's not always that. It's not what everybody needs. So identifying what folks need, what benefits them, is where I've said taking notes, kind of journaling is important for a coach. So that's one of the things I wanted to emphasize this morning. And again, it's really this is the type of stuff that it's these little things like this, whether it be journaling, whether it be adding a little bit of speed development to the training, whether it be maybe I got to cut back in this volume a little bit on these folks here, these gals here, because it's last thing I want to do is have them have aches and pains or be a little bit fatigued towards the end of the summer. So these are the types of things, or keeping an eye out on the training or communicating with your athletes comes in key. Okay. And it shows you have an active dialogue and active communications. And obviously, we know that in a lot of states around America that you're not really allowed to have official practices until August. So we get that. And there's a lot of unofficial this, unofficial that, but getting together whenever they can to run and just to stay fit, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, and we know that you don't really need to have unofficial hard practices until pretty much right up until cross country anyway. Okay, if they're not doing the work they need to up to that point, it doesn't make any sense to test their fitness yet, especially if you know they don't have it. So this is where that stuff comes into play. So we have someone in the chat room, or in the live stream. Tell me where you're from. Hello, by the way. Good morning. And then let me know where you're from if you have any questions. If you're a coach or an athlete. And again, this is where you can be creative, right? You can really get ahead, and this is where that coaching communication comes into play. Okay, and again, I keep saying again, this is so many things. At this point, the key is to make sure the athletes you're coaching are healthy, right? Progressing along, and obviously feeling like they could do more. Okay, and that's an important feeling to have during cross country season too. Whatever type of training you might be doing, or in season you might be getting workouts where they feel like they can do more is a good thing. Okay, there's certain workouts where you can go to the well, really put out the volume and intensity, and really kick their butt. Now's not time for it. Okay, even though you can test folks at certain times, and I also see too many folks doing that in the summertime. You got to do hard this, hard that. No, you don't. No, you don't. Summer is about getting back into your groove, getting into a rhythm again, taking the next step forward towards a long season, and after even a long year, cross country, indoor, outdoor, if that's what you folks have, that's a long year to be competing and racing and training. So rest is absolutely important. Okay, and enough sufficient rest is important. Okay, and plugging in these types of things. That's why taking 3 to 4 weeks to get back up to goal volume with just no intensity, just easy running. Get back into the groove. Okay, adapting to a new cycle, a new stimuli. Okay, and that's a very important component of training, whether you're a coach or an athlete. Giving you time, or your athletes time, to adjust and get ready for the next step, right? And what they're going to do, what you want them to do, what you're going to do. So, anybody have any questions on that? Put them in the comments. So let's just say you had a 3 month, you're 3 month or a 12 week or 13 week base training, right? June, you already had a couple weeks off. And this is for the majority of folks, not the folks who are competing into June, obviously. That changes things for them a little bit. But if you have your base period, and you had your outdoor track season, spring track, you took a few weeks off. Okay, let's just say 2 weeks off completely. and then ease yourself back and run. You take the month of June to do that. Okay. And generally, my rule of thumb is you're 25% volume. So let's just say you're running uh, 60 miles a week, want to run 60 miles a week. And so, I mean, that means the first week is small, low, 15 miles, say 25%. Next week, 30 miles, 50%. Next week, 45 miles, 75%. Fourth week, you're up to goal miles, 60 miles per week. So it's a good way of easing yourself back into training while increasing volume but not intensity. Okay. Or you training, let's just say you're running 80, you do 20, 40, 60, 80. Or you're training 40, you do 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay. So again, and I wouldn't worry about it. That's a little bit of miles. It's just getting yourself back into the groove. Okay. And at that point, whether it be 5 or 6 days a week, it's fine. For the older folks, you generally, take a day off every second or third week. Okay. So it depends on where you're at in high school, depends on where you're at in college, or after that. To be honest with you, so it's important to factor that in as well. Recovery, how often you're training, okay, and how to schedule out the training. So I'm averaging this pretty much a similar amount of miles per day while I'm adding volume too. So or while I'm modifying things. So because if you're running 7 days per week, and let's just use this as an example, 10 miles a day. You're running 70 miles a week in 7 days. If you're running 6 days the following week, you want to run 60 miles. So average 10 miles a day. So 70 in a 7-day week, 60 in a 6-day week. You alternate that. So averaging the same amount of miles per day is absolutely important. Okay, and then once you get to the point, you get your volume, and you can start to phase in maybe uphill speed development early in the week, flat speed development later in the week. So let's just say Tuesday and Friday, 8 times a 200 uphill, right, on Tuesday, and then 8 times a 200 flat on Friday. So now you're combining like strength and speed development and flat speed development too. And by the time you do that for a couple of weeks, you can more easily transition into tempo running and those types of things too. So these things are critical. That's why I'm talking about it now. That's why I started, putting videos out a month and a half ago or over that as to how to kind of build out your summer training. Okay. So if anybody has any questions on those, put them in the comments or reach out to me. blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com is my email. Okay. And this is the type of stuff, again, no matter what type of training volume, whether you're middle school, high school, whatever it is, whatever type of training volume that you're prescribing as a coach or following as an athlete, paying attention to not only your body, okay, and just making sure that you're taking the steps so that you can not only get better but stay healthy while you do it. Okay, so it just makes a more meat and potatoes live stream because the basics a lot of times the folks ignore, and that's why I want to talk about this. Okay, the basics is what can get you healthy, is what can keep you healthy. Okay, it's not always we don't always need the fancy stuff. We don't always need the high end Ethiopian training, high end all that type of stuff. We don't need those types of things, especially if we're not ready for them. So I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Okay. And if anybody has any questions, put them in the comments now. Okay. Sometimes we get a larger group of people with a lot of questions. Sometimes you don't, and that's totally okay. But we're in phase 2 right now, mid to late July. Okay. Of summer base training. So we're in the middle of it. So we're at this point. If you've done the things prior to that, speed development, maybe even touch base with some little bit of VO2 on occasion, VO2 max. If you're a half miler and a miler, maybe at the end of the month, you can do some 400s at mile pace or even faster with a good amount of recovery. Take a look at the videos I put out recently. Summer training workouts for middle distance runners who race or don't race cross country. How to incorporate VO2 max into the training so that it's a little bit more race specific to track people while you're building for cross, which allows you to touch base with your favorite events without compromising your summer training or even the fall. So just wanted to get that one out there too. So, but have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. Again, train hard, train smart in the summer. Okay, keep this thing going. If anybody has any requests on certain live streams to do, let me know. We'll do them. Okay, we'll get you on here, get you and your coach on here, whatever you want to do. Okay, and we can have an open live dialogue. I can help you in any way possible. I can answer any questions you might have on any video that I put out, no matter what it is. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Talk to you next time.